So as I was saying, we could train people to want money when in reality you can't eat money. It's only to spend, and yet people want more than they're ever going to spend, more than they're ever going to pass off to their relatives. And just as easily we could get people back in the mindset where they want the goods. And there are systems that can do this. People don't understand how arbitrary, concepts of money, the way we run banks, the concepts of interest, these are arbitrary things. And we need to compare them and their results of them combined into a whole economic system to the constraints we have. And we should talk about the constraints, and we never ever do. That's why I have made this video about one constraint I think we all ought to be able to get our heads around. Because even the free market anarchists, they claim that it'll work, that it's good for the poor people, that the investment of the wealthy and people that prove that they should have that power to invest, that those are the people that make the best decisions and will work out best. So we ought to all be able to acknowledge this constraint, that we can't have a system where for decade after decade, century after century, the value flows in one direction. When we look at history and know that the only reason that's worked is because every once in a while we shake up the Etch-a-Sketch. You see, and this is the thing, because I've got these market anarchists and objectivists that imply that no matter how I say this, I want to confiscate money for the wealthy, and they're missing the point. I don't want to do that. I'm not saying we should have a revolution. I'm sick of that. I want an evolution. I don't want to confiscate the money of the wealthy. I don't think there's a problem with being wealthy. Okay? I'm trying to avoid that. And that's the inevitable result. That kind of crisis is the inevitable result of this kind of feature. Now, I'm also saying that I don't see how our system can be built into a system that doesn't lead to that. Now, if you have a way that it can, I'm interested in it. But I don't think it's just like, well, we have to have taxes and we have to tax the right people. Well, how are we going to keep those taxes on the right people? What about when those people move the money to another thing and are clever? We just need to have a clever leader that runs over and chases them. I don't want that. I don't see that in the human body. I don't see that the brain and the liver and the kidney and the intestines. I don't see, that the way they share resources is anything like the way we do. And that's the most efficient sharing of resources we know. Dozens of, if not hundreds of organs, millions of cells. You don't have intestines trying to keep all the nutrients for themselves. Build up extra savings of nutrients just so that they can be fine on a rainy day and the rest of the body be damned. We just don't see that. I know, therefore, there are better ways, and I believe it is in the infrastructure, in the way you define value, in the way you abstract value. And so that's what I'm saying. That's where we really disagree, because you think we could just regulate the taxes. But fine, please pursue that. How should we regulate it? Do we take away should we really tax people because they make more money? Or should we tax them more because of the industry they're in? Maybe people making movies should be taxed more, or people selling stock should be taxed more since there's no infrastructure. And people that build infrastructure, road construction companies, should be taxed less. That's an alternative that I'd be interested in, because, that would maybe change our current system less and yet have a more fundamental, effect on the basic design of the system. Okay, but I don't really see that as sufficient. I think there's really the pieces need to change. But if you want to talk about the current system, then we need to talk specifically about what kind of taxes. And if it's just a progressive tax based on how much money you make, or in Mendham's idea that you could just have a huge, 100% inheritance tax, no, I don't think those are going to be sufficient. So I'd like to hear the particular ideas. They don't have to be particularly finished. I don't expect them to be finished. This is sort of the beginning. People haven't really been thinking about this. People assume we need this system like we have it now. So they don't have to be particularly finished, just like my idea that, hey, maybe a different kind of currency is possible. Okay. But they should fundamentally change. It can't just be different numbers put in the same tables that we have right now. Okay, that's my belief, because it depends too much on on the individuals that you're going to get as leaders, and I just don't have faith in that. All right, cheers.